Welcome to the Global Real Estate and Entrepreneurship Podcast. I'm so excited to have my friend and compadre from the greater Calgary area. He is an amazing agent. He is a top producer, a team lead, a coach, and soon to be author. Welcome to the program, Ben Sweet.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Pleasure to be here. Pretty excited. That's quite an intro. I appreciate it. It's funny. I hear those things. I'm just kind of like, is that me? Is that really me? That's okay. Cool. That's awesome. So
That's all
just
you.
learning to own it. Just learning to own it. So
And,
thank you. I
and you've
appreciate
earned your stripes. So tell us, Ben, about what your journey in real estate has been.
that. Yeah. So I started when I was 27. I just turned 50, so 23 years now. I lots of Botox. That's why I don't look 50. So thank my wife for that one. So, and I got my license when I was 27, and then honestly, the first 3 years were just like some of the hardest, just very difficult getting going. I had some confidence, I had lots of energy, but I really didn't have any self-esteem. So when it came to like processing and working with clients and all that stuff, like it was very difficult. I was very much a people pleaser, and that was challenging for sure. But I remember that one morning I woke up and I was like, I got this. Like I can do this. And then at the same token, I had that same mindset of why did it take me 3 years to finally wake up feeling this way? And so I was always left with that thing of there has to be a shorter way for me to, be able to figure something out, implement it into my life, and level up. That was kind of I was left with that, and that kind of will play into a little bit further of the story. But shortly after that, I started experiencing a tremendous anxiety. Like it just kind of like crept into my life. Started as very situational. Hey, sometimes I feel uncomfortable in these situations. And I was like, oh, that's just stress. And then from stress, it turned into like just like this almost uncontrollable nervousness. And then that kind of grew into like an everyday thing. And then from an everyday thing, it grew into an all day thing. And then I had some panic attacks. And then I was to the point where, like, over a period of years, where I was having almost panic attacks daily. Like, I'd have anywhere from like 4 to 6 per week. I was a mess. Like, I was really just like the person you see today is not that person that at that time. And
What
so
stage of
that
life
was
were
super
you at?
challenging.
Is that around the third year and then on to you know, how long were you sort of suffering with that buildup?
Yeah. So I mean, it definitely hung on for a long time. It wasn't quick, getting rid of it, I should say. It really did, like the stress part certainly started within my first 12 months. And I think kind of having it grow a little bit more into anxiety happened like in the second, third year kind of thing. I was also in a relationship that was not very healthy. Someone who was an alcoholic, someone who was, manipulative and narcissistic and whatever else. And I don't want to pick on her too much, but the reality is it was just not a healthy environment overall, and I just kind of fell into it in the wrong ways. So that was a huge part of it as well. And then a ton of other changes going on in my life, just big identity shift from being a bartender for a long, long time into becoming a real estate agent, and so that was just challenging. I think a lot of people struggle with becoming this new person when they get into real estate. And the reality is that you do. Like it's something you need to grow into. For me, it was extra challenging. And so, yeah, I think, after those first 3 years, I probably had another 3 to 5 years of like getting worse, and then started to kind of come out of it. But it's very much in the rearview mirror now. It's been a long time. But more than anything, like I mentioned to you, I kind of, I tried medication, I tried therapy, I tried a number of different therapies. I tried, so many different things. I'm really a very resourceful person. I'll try many different things and figure many different things out. I just feel like nobody is going to take care of something in my life as well as I will. I'm not saying I know everything and I know what's best, but I'll explore as many options as I can until I figure something out. And it did. It took me a long time, but ultimately I figured out that there's one core thing at the root of all anxiety and all panic attacks and agoraphobia. And I was at the place where I could barely even leave my house. It was pretty bad. So, but the biggest thing that it boiled down to is limiting beliefs. And that's not a great reveal, but it's the truth. And, I just had all of these things I believed to be true about myself and about the world, about health and about my capabilities and abilities. And I just was underestimating myself to a high degree and felt there was tremendous number of dangers out there that were not there. And so over time, it just kind of eroded, into something horrible. It was a terrible time for sure.
It's brilliant. We have to unpack this a little bit
Yeah.
because I
Okay.
feel like, real estate is this Frank Sinatra song. We're up, we're down, we're over, we're out, we're a king and a pawn, right? And I said earlier that real estate and a career in real estate is like surfing manic depression as a career. And
Yeah.
so you're not only surfing markets, but you're also managing your own personal stress and what's going on in your life as a human being, which, your movement as a human being from being in your early 20s in a relationship to, later 20s and possibly going into a longer term relationship, maybe becoming a parent and so on
Yeah.
and so forth, greater responsibilities, home ownership. But then it's also, all sort of the baggage that we bring along as well. So when you
True.
talk about moving from being like being very social and being a bartender to into real estate and having a relationship and that relationship not being the most positive, in a lot of ways, it's like I want to say it's the brokenness that we attract along the way that we don't even sort of realize by those limited beliefs, by sort of what we're not healing or acknowledging or doing
Yep.
um, sort of the work on, which is an
True.
interesting journey in and of itself. And I feel like, get into a career in real estate if you want to find yourself, find God, or just totally destroy it all and just wipe out.
It is one thing's for sure. I mean, I always tell people, I'm like, real estate is going to push you in all your soft spots. And 100%, it shows you all of the places that you're weak. It's like, Nicole, you could take on a project. I could be doing the exact same project side by side, and you're going to get triggered in one area, and I might not at all. Right. So we're going to get triggered in our own weak spots. But the beauty of that, as painful as it is, the beauty of that is that it shows us places we need to improve. It shows us where we're falling short. It shows us where we fall apart. It shows us where our version of ourselves and how we see ourselves is just insufficient in that area, right? Like it wouldn't be challenging. Like if you fully believed you could handle whatever it was, it wouldn't be challenging for you, right? There wouldn't be a challenge there. You'd just be like, well, this is what I do. Yeah, not necessarily saying it's enjoyable, but this is the thing that's got to get done. And you just show up, do your thing, and off you go, right? No challenge. But for someone else that shows up with a lack of belief in regards to themselves in that specific area, they might just be like, geez, I don't know if I can do this. Like, this is too hard. And I can't handle it when people freak out on me. And I'm just scared that this is going to happen or that's going to happen. And oh man, I'm not sure. Like, I just don't
Rejection.
feel good.
There's a lot of rejection in real estate, so even if you go in confident and you get knocked down, you still have to get up more times than you get knocked down, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it can erode personal levels of confidence as well or change that. Now, something I want to talk about, and the amazing part is that you've gotten past this and you have a system, but I want to talk a little bit about what those symptoms were that you were living with as it was sort of ramping up. Like, were there headaches? I mean, I went to agoraphobia, which is a fear of going outside, right? Which is a tough one as a real estate agent.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. It was
Your symptoms as it sort of ramped up.
so okay. So, I mean, I actually literally wrote them all out one day. And it was so out of hand. I couldn't possibly tell you all of them right now, but I will tell you that probably I'll share a couple of the worst ones. So the one of the worst ones was this thing called unreality. Have you ever heard of it?
No, I don't know.
Okay. So what happens is that when you are living in a state of anxiety, like high anxiety for a long, extended period of time, like not just days, but like weeks or months, what happens is your brain gets tired out. And because it gets tired out, it's not firing as quickly as it's supposed to. And so, because of that, you get this delay. There's a delay between what you are observing and how you're feeling about it. So, it is the strangest thing where all of a sudden you feel like you're in this bubble. It's like that whole Charlie Brown thing, that sound, the teacher sound, womp, 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 right? It would be
Yes.
like, it's like when you're in a bubble and you feel that, womp, womp, that's the sense. You feel like you're in this weird bubble and it doesn't feel like reality. So it's called unreality. And it is really disconcerting. Like if you're already an anxious person and you then experience this unbelievable discomfort around the way that you're experiencing life, it feels remarkably odd. Like you literally feel like you're about to just break in half. Like it's just such a
Well, I'm
horrible.
thinking this sounds like, and I'm laughing in a way because I have a cousin and we call
Please
that
do.
duh, duh. Going into a state of duh,
Yeah,
where you're
yeah,
traumatized, but you haven't yet responded the way a normal person would respond to the trauma. And you're
yeah.
just sort of in your body existing and going through the motions. Is this the same type of situation?
So that would be more like shock, right? That's more like shock. This is can be like almost like a chronic condition. Yeah, in that it can stick around for extended periods or it comes and goes. And so that was probably one of the worst. I think the other big thing is just uh, like just high levels of paranoia. And I just really, really didn't feel safe. I didn't feel safe to just be out in the world. I felt like just horrible things were coming my way. And when I look back, I'm not going to get into all the details, but when I look back at all of the different changes I was going through and, the environment I grew up in and real estate as a whole and just all of the parts and pieces, I'm like, yeah, I can see how it was just a perfect formula, perfect storm for all of this to occur. Looking back on it. And then really more than anything, again, to kind of start to put a cork in that. But more than anything, like moving out of it started with challenging the things that I thought I was seeing, right? How am I not safe, right? I don't feel safe. Okay, well, how are you not safe? Like, what is the threat? What are you afraid of going? What are you afraid that's going to occur? And then, oh, I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of that. And it's like, okay, well, that's not real. It's like, so if it's not real consciously, but yet you're feeling the emotions, it means that there's some sort of agreement with yourself that's telling you this could happen, right? And it's not a conscious thing, especially if you don't know it. If you don't know what it is, if you can't put words to it, then it's an unconscious belief, right? Or it's stored somewhere within you that you can't access. Or it's not that you can't access, you're just not seeing it on a moment-to-moment basis. Because when you do see it on a moment to moment basis, that's now a conscious belief, right? You're aware, hey, I think the world's a really unsafe place. Therefore, I don't feel comfortable going outside because it's unsafe. I could be attacked. And because I could be attacked, I won't be able to handle that. That'll be too much for me. Right. And so as you get whittled down and down and down, this perception of your self-perception, your self-image, your identity becomes this thing that is just a lesser version of who you ever were. And you just feel less able to handle difficulties and challenges, right? So
Wow.
pretty
So
tough to grow a business out of that.
yeah, and what I was going to say is because I've done some work, I'm a wellness advocate myself, and I have done some
Oh,
work in
awesome.
this area um, that it becomes about like prior to you sort of acknowledging and changing that narrative, which I
Yep.
would call that cognitive behavioral therapy, right? Or along those lines. That it's like a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So as you're fearing these things, you're actually drawing more of these things to be afraid of to you, which
Yep.
actually confirms what you're worried about in the first place. So to actually get the presence of mind and be an advocate for yourself to lift yourself out of that is brilliant, number one, and shows just a tremendous amount of strength. And I hope that this podcast and this testimonial today helps somebody who's in that moment saying, like, how do I get out of this? And look, bad things only happen to me, and everybody else gets the listing, and da 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 da. That
Yeah.
like there are people who are top producers and been in the business a long period of time who have literally pulled themselves out, and this is
Yeah.
how you can go about doing it. Like,
Yeah.
start by looking at these limiting beliefs and start
Yeah.
isolating them and start changing that narrative to
Yeah.
something that is true and something that
Yeah.
you can actually change. Because the bottom line is you're trying to control all these things, and the only thing you can actually control is yourself. And that's what
Yeah.
you're not doing.
Yeah. That's right. And it's fun. So you just said a ton, and I agree with so much of that. The way I ended up going about it really wasn't along the lines of CBT, so cognitive behavioral therapy, which I did try that as well. If I could sum up what CBT is, my experience of it, again, not the clinical definition, but it's like imagine a field of wheat, right? Or a field of corn or whatever it is, and you're trying to create a pathway across it. Well, the first time through, you're literally just like fighting your way through, right? But you make it across the first time. And then the next time you need to go through, well, you can kind of see where you went before. So then you go through it again. It's a little easier the second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time, right? So after a period of time, it gets just beat down and, it just kind of goes that way. So these neural networks that we have inside of our brain it's exactly that, right? Like every time you want to create a new belief using CBT, it's an arduous process to create these new pathways. And it takes a very extended period of time to break through phobias, right? Like things that you're just like insanely afraid of, because there's so much more to it than just simply a cognitive process. I think part of the way I was able to get out of it probably faster than most people would have been, and able to grow far beyond where I was, and use the same tool for success in business and health and relationships and all kinds of other things. And I still use it every day, constantly. And just to be clear, Nicole, the biggest reason I use it every day is because I recognize the way that I achieve goals, the way I become a better person, the way I have a better moment to moment life, and the way I show up better for everyone is by simply removing the things in the way that prevent me from showing up that way. Right. So if I feel like, hey, this is too much for me, it's like, okay, well, why? Why do you feel like this is too much? Well, it's too much because I can't be everything to everybody. It's like, okay, but you don't have to be everything to everybody. And we're not talking about being everything to everybody. I'm talking about being everything to this person. Can you show up in that way? It's like, yeah, I can do that. Okay, well, then let's take that belief on that this is more important than showing up as the best for everyone, because you'll never do that. Nobody can ever do that. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all that you show up that way. What matters is that you show up the way you want to show up and the way you need to show up lovingly for the people that matter to you. That's all that matters, right? I think that's how we change the world. We change the world by being the best people we can be for our people. And so there's an energetic component to this process that is not a part of regular everyday CBT or cognitive behavioral therapy or other types of, let's say, phobia removal or belief change processes. That I think people look at it strictly from a brain anatomy standpoint. In other words, like, hey, we're trying to get across the field. Let's go once. Let's go twice. Let's get easier and easier and easier. Well, are you going to do that every single time in every single area of your life? I mean, talk about painful. So what I discovered was, so I used to have anxiety, or sorry, I used to have depression when I was like early 20s. And then I learned how to meditate. And then I tried this one specific kind of thing when I was meditating. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, wow, I feel different. And it was something super simple. I just kind of like learned to like push the energy up my spine, right? Kind of like a Kundalini kind of process. And then all of a sudden the next day or that day, I was like, wow, I feel pretty good. And so I kept doing that thing. And then eventually, all of a sudden, I stopped doing it. And I was like, I don't feel any depression whatsoever. And I was like, well, something's different here. So I found the right thing for the right specific difficulty that I was having. And it just went away. And I've really never experienced any depression since then, other than a little bit of depression I experienced on the side of anxiety. Anyway, here's where I'm going with it. If it's not energetic, if you don't bring a sufficient amount of energetic or energy to the process will take substantially longer than it should. And it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to take that long, because when you look at what we are, when you look at everything that's going on inside of our brains, It's electrical. More than anything, it's electrical first, right? Electrical first, chemical second. So if it's electrical, then what animates our body, right? Well, our souls do, right? We're electric in nature. There's electricity flowing through our body all the time. And we have the ability to influence that by doing specific things, right? So when you do something that specifically will influence the body, then you can use that and you can direct that towards a specific thought process or a specific belief. So let's say, for instance, you had the belief of, and there was one you said earlier, which was, I never get the listings, everybody else always gets them. Okay. So clearly that's a very self-defeating belief. Okay. So if you had the belief of that, you can isolate it, but you also recognize that's not the only one, right? Usually, if you have a reality where you simply have difficulty getting listings and you always are constantly losing around the listings, let's be honest, you're not showing up. You're not showing up in your best light, right? But it's all the beliefs that are getting you to take the actions and feel what you feel and think what you think, and then as a result, you show up that way. So when we bring energy to the process, that we start to recognize it's not just one belief, there's multiple beliefs, and it's usually a belief system. And so you can change many beliefs at the same time. But again, it's that thing of, if you're not bringing an energetic process to the belief change, it'll just take forever. So it just simply takes way, way, way too long.
And I think Joe Dispenza talks about this. I think I've done some meditation type work. I'm an advocate and I'm a lover of Joe Dispenza and everything he brings to the table. And I think I've done some meditation where he talks about moving that energy up the spine to your crown chakra, if you will. And so it's interesting to me that you've actually had this huge, if you will, awakening experience, because that really is a big shift in your change to go from a depressed state to a non-depressed state based on meditation, and moving that energy in your system. That's amazing. I'd love to
Pretty
hear.
neat. Yeah, it's pretty neat. I think I'm very much like I believe there's a solution for everything, right? So whatever the problem is, you just need to try a number of different things in like your own kind of scientific way. And then once you figure something out, then you have to go a little bit deeper on that. Is there a better way to do it? Is there a faster way to do it? And excuse me, figure out what it is, and then you ramp up from there. And then I used that same process of not the meditation side, but the belief change side, specific for growing my real estate business. And then because it was this thing of like I could never. I'll give you a sense of it. So numbers wise, I went from being like 120 to $140,000 a year GCI agent, right? So that was kind of my number for a really long time. I was there, and then all of a sudden I was like, well, why am I struggling with this? Right? Like, what is the difficulty I'm having here? It's like, well, people they don't, say what they're going to do, or they don't do what they say they're going to do. That's why I'm having problems here. And it's like, okay, well, you're putting that outside of yourself. So you can't change what they're going to do. So what can I do differently? And why do I expect that these people are going to do this? Better question, why am I attracting these people who aren't fulfilling? It's like, well, because I don't want this to work out. Why don't you want it to work out? Well, I don't feel good enough. I don't feel like I'm worthy. So when I changed some of the worthiness around it, and Nicole, every single time I've done this in my life, my income has gone up. I challenge beliefs around my own sense of worth. And then, the universe just responds accordingly. And I use that phrase, the universe, very loosely, because if you're religious, if it's God, if it's Allah, if source, if it's whatever it is for you, it's this outside energy thing, that will bring you what you say you want, not just because you want it, but because you know and you feel and you're 100% worthy of it. So I kept challenging that over a period of years, and I still do it. And every time I do, my income just kind of goes up and up and up. And the thought of being a team lead, like I never would have been a team lead. I never would have been someone that could level up. I don't want to be a babysitter. I don't want to handhold. I don't want to spank people's butt. I don't want to have to fire people. I don't want to be a boss. I don't want to be a leader. I don't want to, because I had all this negativity associated with all those things. Why wouldn't you want to be a leader? Well, if I'm a leader, then I have to be a babysitter. Well, that's not true, but that's what I believed, right? If I'm a leader, it means I'm overly responsible for other people's success and failures. Well, that's not true either, right? So we just have these negative things associated with the stuff that we want. So we don't end up properly going for it in a really meaningful way because of the junk. So if we can just strip the junk off, we'll see it for the way it really is, then we'll feel more compelled to just get to work.
I love it. It's the self-sabotage. It's an inside
Yes.
job. No one's sabotaging
Inside job.
ourselves,
Inside
right?
job. Yeah.
And you know
100%.
what you're talking about is healing your core wound.
Yep.
Whatever
Yep.
that core wound is in the beginning that happened, and sometimes it doesn't have to be this big trauma event. It can be a
Oh,
series of events, it can be bullying, it can be big stuff too. But everybody comes to the table with some sort of core wound. I've yet to see someone, dodge that bullet. But the amazing part and the divinity you will and whatever you believe in is in really healing that. So let's make that connection in. So you found that it was connected to your worth and your idea of worth. You know that there's an energetic component to that. Now, how are you putting together the worth piece and the energy piece?
do we have time to actually do a belief with you?
Yeah, I think so. We've got a few minutes.
Okay. All right. So let's isolate something that you've been struggling with. Are you okay to just kind of go there for a little bit?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So give me an area where you've got resistance, or somewhere where you're not showing up, or somewhere where you should be putting a little bit more effort into it, or somewhere where you're sabotaging, or things aren't flowing the way you want them to.
Okay, so in my challenges, I'm an overgiver. So I am looking to attract people who can reciprocate what I can give, and I can give a lot.
Okay. So is overgiving a problem for you?
Yes,
Why?
because I think it tires me out, and
Okay.
eventually it makes me feel undervalued and underappreciated.
Ooh, ouch. Okay. So you're an overgiver. It tires you out. It makes you feel unappreciated. It makes you, like, ultimately it affects your self-worth as well,
Well,
right?
it makes me feel resentful. It makes me feel like it's unjust.
Okay. All right. So why do you overgive?
Hmm. I guess like everybody, I just want to be loved.
Okay. Did you
I'm a
know that?
people pleaser. I'm a recovering people pleaser.
Okay. All right. Did you know that you overgive because you want love?
I didn't always, but I've been
Okay.
on this journey now for a few years, and I,
Okay.
I realized it definitely in the last 3 years.
Okay. So do you get love by overgiving?
No.
No.
Like, but you think you would, but no.
Right. So the reality is you're trying to fill a love bucket with all of these other things that you do. And by doing these things, it depletes you,
Yes.
right? Okay, so that's none of that's healthy, right? And it tires you out, and it probably makes you want to have a nice big glass of wine at the end of the night because you're just like, ugh, like I've been given here, and right? Okay, so you want love, right? Do you feel on a day-to-day basis that you can get enough love?
I believe it exists in the world, so yes, I should be able to.
Okay. But that's still, I'm going to say that's a no, because you would have said yes otherwise, right? You would have been like, yes, I do get enough love. But you said, there is enough love in the world. So, yes, I believe that's possible, right? Okay. So, let's do this. Um, do you feel a little vulnerable right now, by the way?
I think there was a time where I would have felt vulnerable.
Okay. Awesome. That's good, because that lets us kind of isolate something, and then be able to just kind of tear it apart. Okay. So, on a day-to-day basis, do you feel like you get enough love?
So I guess no.
Okay. So, close your eyes for a sec. Okay, I want you to repeat this phrase. On a day-to-day basis, I don't get enough love.
On a day-to-day basis, I don't get enough love.
Okay, so Nicole, how true does that feel for you? Like, if 10 was as true as it could be and 0 is it's not true at all, where does that sit for you?
I think it'd probably be a 5 because I do get love. I don't want it to, I'm not an unloved person, but
Clearly.
maybe I don't get the love I need.
Okay. So I'll say another phrase. Close your eyes. Okay. So I don't get the love I need. Say that phrase.
I don't get the love I need.
Okay. Where does that sit on the scale of 1 to 10?
Probably an 8.
Okay. All right. So let's do this. What that all of that questioning was about finding one belief. Okay. Now we've also recognized it's never just one belief. There are others, but for the sake of today, to keep it brief, we just want to isolate that one. Okay. All right. So now what I want you to do you have a microphone on, by the way?
I don't know.
No. Okay. All right. So I want you to just take your hands like this. I want you to just tap on your sternum. Okay. Pretty hard, a little harder than that. Okay. And what was the belief we had again? I don't get enough love?
I don't get the love I need.
Okay. Perfect. Good. All right. Keep tapping. Okay. Tap. All right. Now close your eyes. I want you to just focus all your attention on that one spot right there. Okay. Focus all your attention right there. Okay. Now look at me. Okay. Now I want you to do this here. Just draw it open like this. Okay. Yeah, just draw it open. There you go. Not really wearing the best shirt for this, but that's okay. Okay. All right. And then here again. Okay. Back to here. Okay. Tap good and hard there. Yeah. You want to tap hard enough so that if you were to stop, your attention would still be focused there because of the sensation that you're building. Okay. Okay. Draw it open again. Okay. Okay. Now, as you're going here, I want you to repeat that. I want you to say, I don't get the love I need.
I don't get the love I need.
I don't get the love I need.
Get the love I need.
I don't get the love I need.
Don't get the love I need.
Okay. Now, I love myself.
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 Okay. Keep back to tapping again. Okay. Okay. Draw it open again. I do get the love I need.
I do get the love I need.
I do get the love I need.
You get the love I need.
I do get the love I need.
You get the love I need.
I do get the love I need.
You get the love I need.
I love myself.
I love myself.
I love myself.
I love myself.
I always get the love I need.
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 I am very loved.
I'm very loved.
I am very loved.
I'm very loved.
I love myself.
I love myself.
I love myself.
I love myself.
I love myself. Okay. Okay. How do you feel?
I feel loved.
Okay. So close your eyes for a sec. Okay. And what was the phrase? I don't get the love I need. Say that.
I don't get the love I need.
Okay. How true does that feel?
That doesn't feel true at all.
That's it.
That was crazy. Ben Sweet.
That's it. Okay. So I'm super proud of this. Okay. This is just like a collage of all kinds of things I've learned from all kinds of people over like 20 years. Okay. Trying different things, testing different things. What if I do it this way? What if I say it this way? And this is the most recent version of belief change that I use and I help other people with. Because here's the thing, Nicole, like I can't promise you that your behaviors are going to be different because of this tiny little thing we did. But I know for a fact that you're going to think differently and you're going to feel differently. And you'll probably have some different behaviors because of the fact that you recognize that you don't need to overgive to get love because that doesn't work. And we didn't really work on that, right? That wasn't what we worked on, but we did recognize that. But we came to realize that you felt like you couldn't get the love you needed, or you couldn't get enough of the love that you needed. And so when we de-energize that, you don't feel like you're there anymore. So this process will de-energize unhealthy beliefs and will energize healthy beliefs. And you don't need to tell your heart or your brain what to do. You just need to take the problem there, open up, stay totally loving to it, which is what this is. Because when you bring pain or trauma or difficulty or challenge to, your greatest problem solver, which is your heart, right? It always knows what to do. Think about being a mom, right? Do you have kids, by the way?
I do, yes.
Okay, so when you have a hurt child, what do? Oh, my baby. You bring it right to your heart. Oh, I love you, right? You bring it right to the place where it knows how to fix and heal, right? And so you're doing the same thing with past traumas, difficulties, and challenges. You're doing the same thing with just limiting beliefs, things that limit you as a person, and you bring them to yourself, you bring them to your heart. Nicole, just the best things in the world start to happen. That's it.
That
Steph.
is incredible. I think that that was so meaningful and such an amazing sort of exercise to really marry the limited belief with the energetic exercise.
Yes.
And, is this the sort of thing where you would do that repeatedly or you don't need to do it repeatedly? I guess it depends on the person.
So my belief in why we're here changes all the time, but my current belief of why we're here as humans is to just uncover who we are at our deepest level. And part of uncovering who we are at our deepest level has to do with peeling off layers of the onion, right? Like the guy who used to struggle deeply with anxiety, like those shells are gone, right? So that was never me to begin with. The real Ben Sweet has not been sweet. Like it's this soul, it's this thing that animates my body. And the same thing for you, right? Like you're not Nicole Forrester. You are this perfect being that's way bigger and deeper than any personality or name or anything, right? Like that's who we are. But we just don't live from that. So this process just helps us to peel back the things that we are not to allow ourselves to just shine forth in these bigger versions of ourselves, which is what we really are.
This is so much bigger than real estate. And I love that. That is so awesome because it really is. This is where real estate, like I said, it becomes this relationship because sales and owning your own business and the emotion, like I'm a former stockbroker and there is no bigger emotional financial transaction than the real estate transaction in my experience.
Yeah.
And so it really is that marrying of two different worlds in a lot of ways. So, something like this is so valuable in the inner work that people should all be doing, but becomes so much more important in, like we were talking about, the manic depression of real estate, so that we can start managing our emotions for ourselves but then transfer that to our clients in a very emotional investment that is necessarily lots of times a person's biggest financial investment, which will
Yeah.
affect their lives and their families.
Yeah.
So, it really is that holistic piece, and it is so huge. I'm so excited to read your book that is coming. Now, I'm assuming that this process is going to be detailed in that book that's coming up.
It's not. It's actually not. I know. I know. Um, I'm trying to think of the best answer here. The book that I'm doing is more geared towards team building. I'll say in a slightly unconventional way, like team building in a slightly unconventional way. But it's the reason I'm writing that is because I have a number of agents in my sphere, in my organization, in my area that are all looking for help in this regard. They're looking for a manual. They're looking for a way to get more freedom from their business. They're looking for a way to make more money and not work more. They're looking for a way to create a legacy for their kids. They're looking for, and so this is more about a manual that will help them to get to that. But there's certainly, this morning I was actually writing the chapter about beliefs and about how, hey, we get poked in our weak spots, and here's how you learn to, take care of those weak spots. But I recognize that I definitely need to write another book now,
We found
specific.
the sequel. We found the sequel to this bestseller that you have coming out in 2 months on team
Yeah,
building.
yeah,
We'll build the hype from now that the sequel is going to be, releasing yourself from limited beliefs uh,
yes,
through real estate
yeah.
uh, and things alike. Ben, where can people follow you for this big release?
Sure. Yeah, I'm pretty easy to find. If you just Google Ben Sweet, you will find me. But probably the easiest thing to do is just Google the Real Ben Suite. So I'm on Instagram, the Real Ben Suite. You could go to, I've got a website I just put out that's going to be specific for the launch. It's a super simple website right now, which is one page, but just a bit of info there. And then you can sign up, name, email, and pop in some additional information. And that's therealbensuite.com.
Awesome. So you definitely want to check
Awesome.
out Ben, and I'll make sure that I have all Ben's information sort of attached to all the releases for this. You want to be watching Ben Sweet. You want to connect with this guy. He knows what's going on, not only in real estate, but in life. And I love that in his bio, it said he's a good human being. And he absolutely is. Look what he did for me today. I can't believe it. What a great exercise and what a great testimonial. Thank you so much, Ben Sweet,
You,
for joining us
you,
and enlightening us today.
my pleasure. Thanks, Nicole. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me.